you can try, but there is an element of like wanting to succeed a lot faster. And it's probably because Web3 is so open source, right? So if you don't build on something quickly, then someone else might take that away very, very quickly, right? So, and you have to keep iterating because it's mostly all open source. So you have to kind of stay on top of the market, which is by itself like a massive adrenaline rush, which I don't think is there in Web 2. Welcome, everyone. This is Prashanth again from Web3 Normies. We don't have Raghu today on the pod. He is traveling somewhere in Hong Kong, and he sends his apologies. So hopefully I can step in and do the needful for the both of us. I know it won't be the same, but I'll try and do my best. Our guest today is Yuri. Yuri runs Wallchain, which is in the field of MEV, one of the topics that's of utmost interest in Web3 these days. I'll let Yuri introduce himself. Just before we go there, just to make a note, nothing that we discuss here should be construed as investment advice. And for full disclosure, Woodstock Fund, where I'm a partner, we are investors in Wallchain as well. So Yuri, thanks a lot for taking the time to be on Web3 Normies. Maybe we can just quickly start off with, your introduction and how that led to you founding Wallchain.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. Hi, Prashanth. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. Deadly bullish to be here today. Yeah, so I'm Yuri, co-founder of Wallchain. And at Wallchain, we give money back to Web3 users that would otherwise be gone to bots. And before we dig into that, let me introduce myself, my background, and so on. So before doing Wallchain, I was a software engineer at Google. I was working on Google Assistant, Google Play infrastructure, at Facebook on Oculus infrastructure. I went through Y Combinator 2 years ago with my first company, which was like a Web2 company. We were doing like a live stream shopping e-commerce platform. Then in 2021, me and my friend Max, who is my co-founder right now, we started doing like bots on Ethereum. So that's how it all started. And I met Max many years ago when he was doing like PhD in machine learning, and I was doing my master's in computer science. So we started doing like many projects since that time. And in 2021, we were doing bots just to have fun in DeFi. And we found it an extremely competitive space. It was hard to outbid other bots because it's a competition, it's an auction. So we were thinking, how do we outbid other bots? How do we figure out how the system works, and we can ensure that we can take some beneficial position in this system. So we found that to get there, we need to be always before the bots. And how do we ensure that we are before the bots? We need to get inside user transactions. And how do we get inside user transactions? We need to partner with originators of that transactions. And these are protocols, wallets, users. That's how all of that started. We reach out to a range of protocols, got some replies, integrated with some of them, and launched. So that's some of the backgrounds, some of the stories, how it all started. Besides of that, I'm also a venture member at Orange DAO, which is like a crypto fund of Y Combinator alumni. And that's basically
That's wonderful. Yeah, I didn't realize the Orange DAO part. I probably missed that, but that's probably a separate discussion we should have at some point on investment DAOs. But yeah, what are like the key insights you developed when you were running these spots, right? That convinced you that kind of led you to found Wallchain. Like I'm running these bots. It's very competitive. This is what is the problem statement, and then how did you get to Wallchain from there?
Yes, the first insight was that it's a mess, and it's try to position yourself properly, and users are being money are taken from users, and users get zero. So that's where like some early incentives and money is also taken from protocols. So it's like a supply chain of MEV.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, like but maybe we can start like from traditional finance, how it works
Mm-hmm.
there, and then we can transfer that to how it happens on the blockchain and in DeFi. So if in traditional finance we take a look at payment for the order flow and trading platforms like Robinhood, 80% of Robinhood revenue, which is by the way a $9 billion company, 80% of their revenue comes from the order flow, payment for the order flow, which is like the um, similar to MEV kind of thing, where you leverage the information you have about the user transactions to extract money out of it with like arbitrage, front running, all of that stuff. So they sell their order flow to companies like trading firms like Citadel Securities, who leverage the information of the users, make their trades more profitable, make money on it, and it's like billions and billions of dollars market in traditional finance. So it's not some like inefficiency that just happened to be in DeFi and that can be like solved easily. The same problem exists in traditional finance, which has been evolving for dozens and dozens of years, and it's still billions and billions of dollars market. Users just come to get access to the free economy to invest in projects, in companies, get return, and what they receive, um, they get kind of attacked by trading firms and the platforms that they're using. And the big problem here is that they have no choice. They can do nothing with it because they don't own any part of it. They just have an option to place a trade. But in DeFi, they have a power. They are free to choose which ecosystem they use, which exchange they use, what tokens to trade, and they have the power to vote for change, and they also have the power to apply solutions that can help them to solve this problem. And what's also important to mention here is that it's like a billions of dollars market in traditional finance, which has been like evolving for years. And in DeFi, when DeFi grows close to that volumes that has the traditional finance now, the market of that would be dozens of times higher because there are like thousands of companies which have stocks which IPO'd, and there are already thousands of active tokens on blockchain. So there will be more opportunities for this kind of arbitrage and front running stuff because there are many more platforms, many more tokens than public companies to trade. There are already thousands of active
Mm-hmm.
tokens and like thousands of IPO traded companies. And when the volume grows like 100 times, the MEV, payment for the order flow in DeFi, will grow many more times. Like right now, it's around $1 billion market of MEV and a few $1 billion market of kind of MEV payment for the order flow in traditional finance. So the DeFi volumes are a fraction of traditional finance,
Mm-hmm.
but the MEV or payment for the order flow is like a huge cut of that.
Yeah, got it, got it. No, that's a great introduction, right? And just from my perspective as well, so coming from TradFi myself, anyone who's used Robinhood in the past or even now, you don't pay any fees to Robinhood for executing this transaction. It feels like it's free, right? But what is happening in the back end is all our retail trades or whatever orders we are putting in are accumulated, and that order flow is effectively sold by Robinhood in the back end to larger institutions like Citadel. And who pay them for that particular order flow. So that's where the payment for order flow comes from Citadel into entities like Robinhood. And typically, all our orders are in a way packaged or arbitraged, etc., so that Citadel can make money out of it. And while we don't see that we are paying any fees in the front end, there is a lot of arbitrage on our orders that is being done at the back end by these larger institutions. So that's what happens in TradFi without any transparency. Now, there is an element of this which happens in DeFi as well. That is primarily value extraction that happens at the miner or validator level. because they are the people who are effectively deciding which transactions to add in a block or not add in a block or order in a block, right? So by making those decisions, these validators or miners can extract, like maximize the value that they extract out of each block, which technically is what MEV is. But it's again, analogous to what happens in TradFi in terms of payment for order flow. So yeah, so that's great. Right now, if we can double click in terms of this MEV, Yuri, I think that's the neat intro to MEV. But what are there like different types of MEV out there? I know, is there like, would you guys at Wallchain classify some MEV as good MEV and some MEV as bad MEV? And how do you look at the overall value chain of the MEV as well?
Yeah, sure. So we can, the biggest categories of MEV, we can put an arbitrage, which is a king because it's the biggest chunk of MEV, and it will always exist because like there will always be different sources of putting your orders, buying and selling tokens, and those prices on different exchanges has to be bring to balance somehow, and like arbitrage is the way to go. There is front running and sandwich attacks, which is not that good, and it always harm users. But in any way, it's like some players have the power to extract that, like validators or like some infrastructure on top of that, MEV boost, for example. And there is also like more rare type of MEV, like liquidation, NFT MEV, some voting MEV. When you vote for DAO, your vote also can be like front run. So we are mostly focused on arbitrage and sandwich because these are like the biggest parts of MEV. And I believe that with the time, when everything becomes more efficient, front running and sandwiches become like less and less because protocols become more efficient. We have like aggregators, we have private mempools, private RPCs, we have like private transactions, and with all of that, I believe the volume of front running will not be that significant, but the volume of arbitrage would only grow, especially with the number of tokens that grows, with the number of dexes, chains. Yeah, and also let's talk about what's important to mention: the MEV supply chain, where it starts and like where it can be extracted. So it starts like we have a user who is interacting with some decentralized application. So we have user decentralized application, which is usually a decentralized exchange. We have a wallet. Then the wallet goes to mempool. It can be like public or private RPC. And then we have some validator or infrastructure on top of it, like builders, proposers, and relays who pick the block. In any of that steps, like user, decentralized application, wallet, mempool, infrastructure on top of validator and validator, in every of these steps, MEV can be extracted.
And what's the process of like when you say this MEV can be extracted at like at a searcher level, builder level, or proposer or validator level, right? How is this exactly extracted in practice?
Yeah, usually it's extracted at validator level or like at the block which is proposed for the validator. It started like with a MEV boost, and firstly it was with a paid gas auction, which created a problem that you have network congestion, that you have like a lot of spam on your network because bots paying more gas and trying to put their transaction in the right place. There was a great improve with MEV boost introduction, and the auction went off-chain. But still, the money were extracted from protocols and users, and they were given to validators and searchers.
Right.
At the same time, we can also extract MEV before that. It can be extracted when someone provides like private RPC to wallet or like to the user. there are like solutions that are based on private RPCs, like in 2021. So like for 2 years already, there are solutions that offer private RPC solution to protect you from bad MEV and potentially give you back some good MEV if you have something. And for the last half a year, we've seen like 6 more companies appear who offer similar kind of user experience. But for these 2 years, it hasn't got significant adoption, which probably is because of not the best user experience, because you need to put private RPC. It's hard to trust that RPC where you give your transaction to someone. It's like not easy to trust to that process, and it's only available on Ethereum, mostly available on Ethereum. There are also like certain solutions on BNB and Polygon, but it was usually only on Ethereum. And when you do that, you always need to remember that you have that RPC and you need to switch to it, because when you go to like Uniswap, you swap on Ethereum, you provide your private RPC, then you go on BNB, and when you turn back to Uniswap, it automatically pushes you to use default Ethereum RPC. So you need to remember that like some time ago you were using private RPC and you need to enable it again. So I believe there is like a user friction which was like not the best user experience, which was blocking its growth. Some better approach may be when it's integrated into some wallets by default. I'm not sure how like it's good or transparent to the user to replace their RPC with some like default private RPC, but still maybe a better user experience. Yeah, and there are also solutions that help protocols extract that MEV on the protocol level, and it's Wallchain.
So we'll come to that. So just to summarize this value chain, right? So what you're saying is, and any user who's out there who's interacting with, say, something like a Uniswap today, right, from say MetaMask, the default RPC, or basically RPC is effectively your transaction interacting with the blockchain, right? So the default RPC endpoint out there takes it into like a public mempool, and then it exposes your transaction to be either front run or sandwiched, right? So the way to kind of get around this as a user is by directing your RPC into like directing your MetaMask into like a private RPC, right? But the problem there is every time you switch a network and come back to say Ethereum to do Uniswap, it again by default reverts into like a public RPC, which is probably like an Infura based endpoint, right? So this is not like ideal UX, and most users actually don't even know this, right? Like they are being sandwiched, there is MEV, etc. So which is why this becomes very important, because the amount of value that is lost for users in MEV is significant, especially if you put in like a large slippage on your order. Then you're easily allowing a lot of bots out there to come and sandwich you, right? What does sandwich mean? Basically, they your transaction is in between. They kind of like do a transaction before you to kind of bring you to the bottom of your slippage, and then once yours is executed, they do one above you, right? So effectively, they have taken a big spread, and you have gotten the worst execution by exposing your transaction. So if you go through a private mempool, through a private RPC, then you're not allowing them to take advantage of this information, right? So I know it's a bit complicated, but I just wanted to kind of slightly declutter that, because most users don't even understand that they are being sandwiched in this. Plus, I guess toxic MEV is where a sandwich happens, like how we outlined, and a lot of user value is lost. But I guess MEV also plays a good role in arbitrage, right? So in kind of like making markets more efficient between say Uniswap on say Ethereum versus SushiSwap on Ethereum. Maybe like if there is an arbitrage opportunity between on the block, then I guess that kind of normalizes prices between them, and it makes for more efficient market. So yeah, so that's I guess a good introduction about MEV. I think we should just quickly, segue into Wallchain, right? And I think you were alluding to Wallchain, anyways, in your previous in our previous topic. So, I mean, maybe we can start off with what is Wallchain and how are you looking at tackling MEV as a problem?
Sure. So, like our one-liner is that we give money back to users that would otherwise be gone to bots, and those bots are like MEV bots. So we started as a B2B. So we were interacting with decentralized exchanges. So we are already integrated with QuickSwap, the biggest DEX on Polygon, Baby Doge, the biggest community on BNB chain, ApeSwap, a few other DEXs. And if there is some MEV created on the DEX, we capture it and we share it with their community. So instead of it going to bots and to validators, we give it back to the community. And to give like to compare Wallchain with other MEV solutions, we are fully application level. So other solutions, they are based on private RPC, private mempool, or they're fully inside the infrastructure like MEV Boost.
Yeah.
What's the main difference here? We are even before the private RPC. So we analyze the transaction at the moment when it is created, if there is any potential MEV to capture. If there is something, we insert MEV strategies inside the transaction. Then it's being signed by the user, and then it goes to the mempool. It can be public mempool, it can be private mempool. It doesn't affect us a lot. We are still guaranteed to capture the MEV that we capture, because we're inside the transaction. And while other MEV players, they're trying to reorder transactions, bundle a few transactions like into one bundle, they still cannot affect Wallchain because we're inside the transaction. So whatever you put like before or after, you need to capture the MEV profit after the user transaction. We leave zero opportunities to them because we capture everything inside user transaction.
Yeah. So I mean, in a way, you're like extracting MEV value like these bots, but instead of taking it for the bots or for the validators, you are giving a lot of it back to the users and to the application, right?
Exactly. So we are actually giving more to the users than any other MEV solution.
Got it. And from a user's perspective, Yuri, here, if I'm using QuickSwap, do I have to integrate separately or run any code to kind of integrate Wallchain? Or by default, if I'm using QuickSwap, then this Wallchain integration is happening at the back end anyways?
It's by default on every QuickSwap transaction.
Okay, great. So yeah, I mean, yeah, please go on.
The good point here is on every QuickSwap transaction, so we analyze, but we affect only transactions that have MEV opportunity. If you use private RPC, you need to send all of your transactions to that private RPC, and then it extracts MEV if it is, or if there is no MEV, it doesn't extract MEV because there is no MEV. But because of you using private RPC, you're paying more gas, usually 10 to 15% more gas for all of your transactions. But only around 5% of transactions have MEV opportunity, which means you're paying more gas for 95% of your transactions for no reason, which makes Wallchain 95% more gas efficient.
Got it. Yeah. And from your perspective, from user's perspective, the experience is still pretty much the same. It's seamless because you don't require the users to do anything. Your business development is primarily to go out and speak to the DEXs, sell them your proposition, and just integrate with them at the back end, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's actually how it all started and how it goes now, like B2B to DEXs. We also integrated with wallets. Actually, like wallets love us so much that 4 founders of wallets are our angel investors. So we have a huge potential here as well. And we actually also started a fully B2C approach. So we have a Wallchain Chrome extension, which is in beta test now. closed beta. You install Wallchain Chrome extension.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to any EVM chain. You can go to any protocol, any exchange you like. You can use any wallet you like. It can be MetaMask or any other wallet. You only need to have Wallchain Chrome extension. And when your transactions create MEV opportunity, we will show you a pop-up saying like, hey, a bot is going to take $80 from your transaction. Would you want to capture it yourself?
Hmm.
You can reject, or you can like agree and capture this $80 yourself. And you can also, we are not competing with private RPCs. You can also use private RPC for that.
Yeah.
You can use like any RPC for that. You can use any wallet for that. We don't need, and we don't need to partner with like blockchain or protocol or a DEX or wallet to do that. It's like fully separate standalone Chrome extension, which gives users all the power to capture MEV themselves. That's the difference we see with like DeFi and TradFi. In
Yeah.
TradFi, users don't have the power. And in DeFi, users have all the power because they trigger actions on the blockchain. They bring money to the table. So they
Yeah.
have the power to get rewarded. And we just enable that power for them.
Got it. Yeah. No, that's super cool. I actually was not fully aware of this B2C product, but it sounds quite interesting, right? If it's a Chrome extension, then I'm assuming like this applies to the DEXs that you guys are integrated with. If I'm using any of those, then I get this pop-up. Is it? Is that in that's how it works?
Any DEX, you can go to any decentralized exchange.
Oh, it's any DEX across EVM.
Uniswap, AntiqueSwap, Paraswap, 1inch.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you don't have to now. If I as a user have this extension, then I don't care if you guys have a backend integration with Uniswap or not. I know it's there with QuickSwap, so this is not as relevant. But even with Uniswap, now you don't have to go and like get this integrated with Uniswap. If it's there on Uniswap, if I'm getting sandwiched, and if I have this extension, then I will know what it is, and I can get that amount back through this extension.
Yep, we don't need to integrate like to partner with anyone. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we integrate Uniswap liquidity pools under the hood, but we don't need
Yep.
their permission to do that because it's like publicly
Correct.
available.
Got it. And what does this payback happen in? Is that in USDC? Is that in the token that is being transacted, or how does that work?
So it's usually in USDC, but if there is like sometimes it's in BNB chain or in BNB token or in Matic token, if it's like more efficiently to capture MEV in that token. So we capture it and we just send you back the tokens that we used to capture that MEV, and you get the reward inside the same exact transaction. So you don't
Right.
need to wait for something. You don't need to claim. You just have your transaction slightly modified, and you get your MEV back in the same exact transaction.
Got it. And the fee I'm paying or my interaction with Uniswap, that's all still the same.
You mean like a gas fee?
Yeah.
It may be slightly increased, but we make sure that that increase is multiple times covered with the MEV that you get back.
Got it. Yeah, of course, because only if I'm being sandwiched is when I kind of click yes. If I or you kind of give me that prompt. If, like you said, 95% of the time there is no MEV, then I don't have to use this, and I just pay the same fee anyways, gas fee.
Yeah, 90% of the time you don't like interact with Wallchain. Your flow is not affected at all.
Got it. Okay, understood. How is MEV different on various chains, right? So there is a lot of focus on Ethereum and MEV on Ethereum. I guess even players like Flashbots, etc., are primarily focused on Ethereum, right? But how do you guys are like also on BNB? You guys are on Polygon. Like, how do you look at MEV across different chains, and do you see that over a period of time MEV kind of increases on all the chains, or is it going to be mostly like a Ethereum and EVM phenomenon?
Yeah, so MEV will come to every chain once it grows enough. and maybe some bad MEV are like will be sorted like front running, but you can't do much with arbitrage. You have to balance the market. You have to bring market to efficiency with arbitrage. And on Ethereum, we have MEV boost. We have like an efficient extraction of MEV on validator level. On BNB chain, we don't have like such like a similar solution, and some validators do extract MEV, and a range of users are being like pissed off because they're being sandwiched and they don't expect that. But I think that's some kind of sort of expected behavior, because we don't need to, like, it's a permissionless, decentralized environment. We don't need to just expect from someone to behave ethically in like in decentralized blockchain. We need to like incentivize them with some monetary rewards, and we need also like to apply technology to make sure everything is like fair. Like that's why DAOs are bringing. That's why we have like tokens. That's why we have like security measurements everywhere. So we don't. It should be trustless environment. We don't need to trust someone. We don't need to expect them to act ethically. So on BNB chain, some validators do extract MEV, some don't. And I believe it should be extracted, and from the MEV supply chain, it should be extracted on every level, and it should be transparent, and everyone should have access to extract it and to run the strategies on it. And if you compare like BNB chain and Ethereum, the profit from on Ethereum is like 3 times, 4 times more than on BNB chain, but volume is like dozen times more. So overall, like MEV extraction on BNB chain is much more profitable because cheaper gas.
Right.
And if we also like, I think it's important to mention the impact of MEV. On BNB chain in 2022, $90 million were extracted in MEV. So this money was just taken from ecosystem. It was taken from users and protocols. And if we think how big is that number, we can take a look at Uniswap now on BNB chain, which has $10 million in locked in the protocol. $10 million. Just imagine, I don't know, like say any provocative words, but just imagine if it gets rug pulled, it gets like hacked, stolen by someone. It's like huge, tremendous negative critical effect on the ecosystem if like all the $10 million from Uniswap gets rocked. Imagine if it happens 9 times during the year. It's a huge negative effect, and that's the impact of MEV. It's like $90 million taken last year.
Yeah.
So that's the size of the problem we are dealing with. Imagine if all of that would go to some protocol, like to boost liquidity on Uniswap or on some other protocols that needs that. It would like hugely positively impact the ecosystem. Users would be incentivized to use it more, to like circle back to users and to the protocols. Yeah.
Got it. How big is this in Polygon as well, since that is also a chain that you guys are active on?
Yeah, it's not that big yet. It's a bit more than $100,000 per month.
Okay.
But once the volume grows, it becomes like similar to BNB chain, and I believe the Polygon has like a huge potential to grow, and like most of the blockchain will come to that state that they have it as a significant problem, because the number of tokens grows, and especially with cross-chain bridge connections that we have, like the volume of bridges are growing, and users are like using more chains at a time. So it will become a huge problem on all of the chains that get to significant size.
Like just double clicking under the hood, right? So if I'm not mistaken, like Wallchain's MEV solution is an off-chain solution, right? So I mean, if you could like just double click and like explain like technically how does that work, right? I mean, and where I'm coming from is there are multiple MEV solutions out there, right? You have MEV Boost that operates more at the validator level. You guys are operating more at like the application level, right? Then there are off-chain based solutions. Then there are on-chain based solutions. Then there are like B2C, like how you guys are doing, which is more retail focused. And then of course there is more institution focused as well, right? So I'm just trying to get like, is there like an ideal solution out there? And why did you guys go with something that is more off-chain? I get the logic for the application versus not going down the validator, but I mean, is there a reason like this is more off-chain, and how does it work exactly under the hood when it's off-chain?
Yes, so the ideal solution, I would think all of them needs to be applied. So if MEV can be extracted in some level, it should be extracted at every level, and every level of that should be decentralized and democratized. Like if it can be extracted at validator level, it should be decentralized and democratized and shared like with every player, with every validator, with like given the equal access to every searcher. And it would be great if some of that can be sent back to the user or to the protocol. And at user level, it definitely should be extracted there, and we need to bring awareness to users and protocols that they can get like extra revenue stream by just applying some simple integrations and getting their MEV back. So that's the power they have. We just need to bring awareness to them that they have that power, and like the core like ideal state of MEV by its being decentralized and democratized. At Wallchain, we give the power to every user and to every protocol to extract their MEVs themselves, and we just give them this technology. So that's like the most decentralized solution that we can think of, because it's been in the hands of every player, and the most democratized as we can think of, because the more you create, the more you get back. It's like what you give, like what you provide is what you've been given back. Yep. So that's our vision.
No, that's quite interesting. And like, I mean, it's also a topic we focus a lot on. You guys are like our first investment in the MEV space, but it's something where a lot of so much activity is happening. Like so just to kind of touch upon the decentralization part, right? Want to get your quick views on like Flashbots is probably the biggest player in the MEV space, right? And they have come up with this MEV Boost, which is like a precursor to the Ethereum's PBS, right? Proposer Builder Separation. Do, do you have like do you have any views on like whether how it is operating? Do you think it's sufficiently decentralized? How does like in any kind of like improvements you would like to see over there, given that it's one of the largest solutions for MEV out there?
Yeah, I guess the biggest concerns here, like the centralization of the relays, it's like philosophically not the best approach that can be taken, but like they had to start with something, and it's like sufficiently decentralized, and you always had to start with something, and that's sort of trade-off that you need to take when you build system like that in like limited time to be able to launch for the merge. And with Suave, I believe it will get more decentralized. And like overall, this is sort of like infrastructure level MEV capturing. They're getting more decentralized, but at the end, I believe MEV should be captured before that. So in that case, most of the MEV is given to searchers and to validators. And we believe that more of that should be given to users. And they have the power to do that. They just need to enable certain solutions, like Wallchain or like private RPCs that provide that kind of rewards. Yeah.
Got it. Also, this is probably one of those businesses where there is an actual business model from day one, right? If you are able to disintermediate any MEV, then obviously your business model automatically captures some of that value as well. So it can get profitable very quickly if a lot of people start using this, right? Which is again not so often seen in Web3 across even protocols that they're profitable, but something like what you guys are doing, because MEV is a real problem. So I guess there is like a very natural product market fit that is out there for you guys to capture.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We were actually kind of profitable before we started actively hiring.
Right. Is that from Wallchain, or is that from the bots that you were running previously?
No, it's from our like integrations with like B2B dexes.
Right. Right. Got it. So one thing I've always was wondering in terms of like an end state for MEV, right? Now, there are like solutions out there, like Osmosis, for instance, is calls itself like an MEV resistant DEX, right? Then you have Hashflow. Hashflow is trying to have like an RFQ based mechanism, and it just takes the entire bidding process off chain with market makers who give quotes, and then those prices stick. So there is no question of like front running or back running those. And then there is cow swap as well, doing something in like a similar vein. So do you think like in like 5 years from now, right, MEV will always be there on chain, but do you think like dexes move more and more into like a category like Hashflow or CowSwap or Osmosis, and MEV as such becomes lesser and lesser? Or do you think the Uniswap and QuickSwap type of model is the one that prevails, and therefore there will be a lot of opportunities to capture MEV and redistribute it?
Yep. So first of all, I think there is a slight ambiguity in terms of like what is MEV. Like the MEV resistance means there is like no front running, and you're not
Yep.
getting like sandwich or front run. You're not getting worse deals than you expect, and that's absolutely great. And I believe that the approach that like every DEX is moving to, like RFQs, and about the osmosis, like they able to do that because the nature of their blockchain is significantly different. In terms of EVM, we have RFQs. The problem with RFQs that the number of orders is limited. Liquidity and tokens that you have there, sure, it will grow, but in any way you have RFQs, you have AMMs. You need to bring that market to balance, and it's done through arbitrage, which will always exist. Front running, sandwiching, sure, it will go down with system like RFQs, and especially when blockchain become faster with ZK applied to it, and we can move back to the limit orders and order books instead of like Uniswap V2, V3 AMMs, which create like a huge front run and arbitrage opportunity. But even with order books, there is still arbitrage.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I should qualified it with that statement because in my mind, especially, when I think of MEV, it's usually the toxic version of the MEV that comes to mind. So it was more specific to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so just as a quick segue from here, right? You were at Google previously, and you've been YC alum as well. How do you since you have been in Web3 for a while as well, like what do you think like is like a critical difference between founders in Web3 and founders in Web2? And is there like any learnings or like message that you would like to give to budding founders in Web3 in terms of any do's or don'ts, given that you've been on both sides?
Yes, so firstly, I believe it's the market of opportunities is way more big in Web3 than in Web2, because Web2 has been like developing for 2 decades, and most of the opportunities are already taken, and it's like much harder to come up with something new. And in Web3, like everything is happening, like something new is happening every week. A lot of opportunities are being created. So like the first point is, I believe that Web3 is the biggest market of opportunities right now. And second point is, when you find such opportunity, it's much easier to deliver it to the community, to users, because the
Mm.
community in Web3 users are in Web3 are much more curious to learn new things. Most of them are like first adopters. When you have something new in Web2, nobody cares like what you're building, and it's hard to bring it to the user, because like people are living their like own life, and people
Yep.
in Web3, they usually curious what else is happening in Web3, and they may be not your like target user, but they may be just curious, and they may became target user by learning your product more.
Mm.
It's much easier to get like product feedback and iterate on that. And everyone understand like it's some numbers are big, but we're still pretty early. We're still like in early stages.
And are there like any things that you thought Web3 founders could learn from Web2?
Web3 founders could learn from Web2. Of course, like many of the things that like Y Combinator playbook like shows how to build stuff, how to make something people wants.
Yeah.
All of that, at least most of that, maybe all of that can be applied in Web3, because you build new stuff, you need to show it to your users. I believe it may be even like, I would say maybe easier in Web3, because in Web2 users get used to good products, to good designs, that everything works smooth. In Web3, if you like, if your product works 1 in 3 times, it may be okay.
Yeah, there's a lot more patience as well from that standpoint. But I also feel like Web3 founders are, from you can try and try, but there is an element of like wanting to succeed a lot faster. And it's probably because Web3 is so open source, right? So if you don't build on something quickly, then someone else might take that away very, very quickly, right? So, and you have to keep iterating because it's mostly all open source. So you have to kind of stay on top of the market, which is by itself like a massive adrenaline rush, which I don't think is there in Web2. Anyways, that was great. I just wanted to quickly, see on the B2C side, right? When does the product come out? The Chrome browser extension.
Yeah, so it's already in beta now. If someone wants to try it out to help us with testing it end to end, please add your email on our website. And I believe in 2 weeks we will launch it publicly.
Nice. Is there any such other product out there on the B2C side, like an extension, like what you guys are building?
We haven't found any sort of that. There are like private RPCs, that's the closest
Yep.
player.
Okay, got it. Wonderful, Yuri. This was great, and hopefully our audience also learned a lot more about MEV. And I will in the show notes also put in your website and also your details on where they can follow you. But this was great. Any parting thoughts that you have that you want to share?
Yeah, let's democratize, decentralize MEV together. Let's bring it all to the hands of users. Yeah, and thank you so much, Prashanth, for having me here. See you all in Metaverse.
Yes. Yeah, I can see the background, which looks like from Blade Runner, probably, or maybe Star Wars. I can't tell,
Yeah.
but clearly not from our universe. So, yeah, thanks a lot, Yuri. Thanks for your time. And yeah, thanks to everyone who listened in.